since the movie is coming out on March 23rd, 2012, and my brother couldn't read this book about the last 8 months, I decided to finally read Hunger Games in November, and I just reread it in the last couple of days. Overall, I really, really did like this book. It had a great plotline. I liked how the feel of the book was, kind of like conspiratorial. The government was watching us and controlling us. The Hunger Games. I liked the plotline, I feel, and I also really liked how Suzanne Collins wrote the book. I liked the balance of dialogue versus how much the character, or the main character, Katniss, was talking to us in her head. I liked that ratio. I also really liked the mechanics of how Suzanne Collins wrote. Her sentence structure, her vocabulary, as well as the blend of simple and complex sentences she used. It just made for a very well-flowing book. There were a couple things that I would have personally done differently with the grammar, and there were several cases where sentences were ended in prepositions, which seems to be wrong, but we all do it even in just everyday speaking, so it makes complete sense that she would do it in a book. I also was a huge fan of how she dealt with backstory. Obviously, in a book that's taking place in the future, foreign author will talk to someone about how the world got to the point where it is. And I liked how she interspersed that backstory instead of doing it all at once. And also there's backstory of how the society got to the point where it is, and how the characters got to where they are, and how the characters relate to one another. I just really liked how she did it. I think she's a fantastic writer. I would definitely recommend reading this book, especially if you want to go see the movie. Always read books before the movie. Always. That way you know what the movie is supposed to be. You can judge the movie by the book instead of reading the book afterward, which for me tends to ruin the book. I really am looking forward to, hopefully in the next book, which I will be reading soon, hopefully. I want to find out more about District 13. This is not too much of a giveaway for anything in the book, that what used to be North America is now called Pan Am, which is a capital city, just called the capital apparently, and what are now 12 districts. There used to be 13, but there was an uprising and revolt and war, and District 13 was completely destroyed. I definitely want to know more about that particular aspect of the story. Into more particulars, of course, some of the book was predictable. Even without reading the back, you could have gathered that her younger sister is going to get picked as the tribute, and she's going to volunteer. We know that's going to happen, but within the first couple of pages, it's obvious. It's just going to be a plotline. All the last 3 or 4 pages of the book were actually my least favorite. They really just didn't like the feel of them, and I personally don't think it felt right with the rest of the story and what we know about the characters, especially the main character, Kat, and I just don't think it works, personally. Just the last few pages especially, I think, took it too far with the relationship angle. Most of the book isn't too bad as far as relationships. There's a love triangle thing a little bit, but it's not a huge part of the story. It's just enough to be annoying to me. I completely understand why she did it. It makes sense, kind of, but mostly it sells. It really does what sells. And authors want to sell books so they can make money, so they write what sells into their books. But it wasn't too bad. It definitely been worse. All throughout, especially the ending, the last couple chapters, definitely set up to have a sequel. And it does. It's a trilogy. It makes perfect sense. It's not one of those books like it often seems like they're just drawing out and making sequels just to write another book. This one, it needs a sequel. And since she ended with 3, I feel like they're all going to be good, which is always a good thing when you like the first book, and that way the later books don't ruin the first one for you. Pretty much the only other things I would really note are that there's one chapter, chapter 3, I believe, that I thought could have pretty much just been a paragraph. I didn't think it needed an entire chapter for what was dealt with in it. And the book is written in 2 sections. There's part 1, part 2, and part 3. And part 1 goes from chapters 1 through 9. And I really think chapter 10 should have been in that first section, because the second section is called The Hunger Games, or The Games, something like that. And chapter 10 isn't actually about the games any more than the first 9 chapters. So I really think that chapter should have been in the first section. But it is what it is, and it's not that big of a deal. It just would have made more sense there. So yeah, again, the movie comes out on March 23rd, 2012. So I am most certainly planning to read all 3 books before that happens. And the book comes with it. It's really cool. I really like this little video movie, which you learn more about throughout the book, obviously, what you'll see on the cover.